it's Speak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to take a look back at one of Denzel Washington's earliest movies in the murder mystery adventure titled The Mighty Quinn. Released back on February the 16th, 1989, it of course has Denzel Washington in the lead role, starring alongside James Fox, Mimi Rogers, Emmett Walsh and Robert Townsend. Based on a 1971 novel called Finding Maubee, the story is set within the Caribbean, following Chief Police Officer Xavier Quinn, who is set to investigate the murder of a millionaire hotel owner who has been found decapitated. Things get personal when Quinn's best friend Maubee is the prime suspect who goes on the run. Now, Quinn doesn't believe that Maubee is the culprit, but is under constant pressure from his superior officer to close out the case as soon as possible. As Quinn's investigations deepens, he uncovers a whole labyrinth of adultery, political conspiracy, and communist activity. He also struggles to maintain his relationship with both his wife and his son in the process. And when looking back at The Mighty Quinn, it's a very well crafted, very handsome looking and easily watchable movie that moves along at a steady, leisurely pace. And from the outset, it looks absolutely great in terms of the cinematography. I'm not sure how this would have looked back when it was released theatrically, but when seeing the HD version, it really is a film full of bright colour and vibrancy and energy. Director Schenkel does a great job to really let you see this world of the Caribbean and all of its culture. We get plenty of scenes of showing the forests and the trees and the beaches and the oceans, also alongside the numerous musical concerts which are full of reggae, soul, jazz, and it all feels very appealing and authentic. You watch this film and it really makes you want to go to the Caribbean on a long holiday or actually live out there. And that's how good the story does in terms of its overall world building, which extends to an extensive cast of characters who are all morally compromised. Whether it's the shady hotel fixer played by James Fox or his wife played by Mimi Rogers, who it's hinted very much has a sexual attraction and relationship with Quinn later on down the line. We have Emmett Walsh as Fred Miller, who is very miscast, I have to say, who has clear sinister intentions later on. Having watched this film for the first time, I can't deny it was a great delight to see the late great Norman Beaton playing Governor Chalk, who was Quinn's superior officer. Now, if you know your British TV and culture, you will know Norman Beaton from the legendary television show called Desmond's, and it was great to see him here in an actual movie role. So all of these characters and personalities have a vested interest or connection to the case, which on the outset does keep it interesting. With many figures potentially involved, it will keep you guessing as to how exactly the murder mystery or the conspiracy will play out. And of course, at the centre of this is Denzel Washington himself, in really what was his second prominent lead role after playing Steve Biko in Crime Freedom a couple of years before. And this film, he had already displayed the early signs of becoming a truly revered, accomplished leading actor that he would go on to become 30 years or so after this movie was released. It's just his sheer ease that he's able to generate a screen presence, an authority and conviction, and yet still overall a likability and appeal. Much like other legendary screen actors such as Clint Eastwood, Sean Connery or Jack Nicholson, you do watch Denzel's films at times and you think his impact is much more of him imbuing his own screen persona rather than actually playing a character. Some actors just have that natural aura about them when they can get away with playing more themselves, despite the various genres that their movies survey. Now, I will have to say that Denzel trying a Jamaican accent has very mixed results. When you hear it for the first time, it does throw you off. You're not expecting to hear it because you're so accustomed to his just standard American accent in his most famous movies. So it is a bit disorientating. It doesn't start off well and he does fade in and out. When we see him in a much more intimate character moments, he really does slip back into his more American accent. The Jamaican accent itself is much more telling when he's in a group of surrounding characters, whether he's talking to his fellow officers. So it doesn't always work, but I don't think it's enough to really throw you off the film, and because his accent fades in and out of the more American tones, after a while you get used to it and you just follow along with the rest of the story. But to be fair here, there is some layer and depth to Quinn as a character. This is somebody who believes in his career and enforcing the law, but becomes increasingly frustrated and disillusioned of all the inactivity, corruption and incompetence that surrounds him. He constantly tries to further his case, but his intentions are always dismissed by his superior officer, and that somewhat makes the character more empathetic. We also do get some good scenes, and his wife or his girlfriend, played by Sheryl, as I mentioned before, he struggles to maintain his connection with his family as the case continually intensifies. Now, for all of the good qualities here, I think the biggest flaw within this film is that the story does tend to meander and stutter. For all of the world building and characters and great locations, the mystery and overall conspiracy elements do get lost. I think too much time is spent on Quinn and his existential crisis in many ways. We get an extended sequence where he plays a musical number on the piano, and it just feels out of place, something that I think should have been played towards the end of the film. We have another extended moment where we see him driving with Maubee along the beach, getting drunk. And again, it's not a bad moment. It wants to substantiate the relationship between both characters. But I do think this took away time from furthering the urgency of the overall main story. For a film that's around 98 minutes long, it does feel longer because again it delays the focus of the murder investigation too much, and I think we get too much time spent on other characters who don't overall feel integral to the main story. And when we do get to the climactic reveal or ending, it does feel a bit rushed and also a bit implausible and nonsensical. Again, had a bit more time been spent on the plot, it wouldn't have felt as forced or shoehorned in at the end. It goes for this actiony spectacle type of ending, and it just doesn't really make any sense as we see what happens. And I think more time could have been spared here for development of the main resolution. So we do overall go on to the movie's release, and it grossed around $4 million at the box office, but it did gain a very good strong critical reception, especially from esteemed critic Roger Ebert, who deemed it as one of the best films of 1989. Now, I'm not sure I would go that far, but it definitely is a very watchable and noteworthy entry within Denzel's long-time career. Not really a film that gets mentioned when talking about his overall filmography. It didn't really make the impact that his earlier film Cry Freeman did, or his subsequent entry after this, Glory, back in 1990. But there's still a lot to like here about the Mighty Quinn. As I said, it's very good in terms of its cinematography and the world building, and the overall outset of a murder and mystery definitely makes it a pleasing and entertaining film to watch, though I do feel some more urgency is needed. It's definitely an entry within Denzel's substantial film career that is worth checking out. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings when looking back at the Mighty Quinn from 1989. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other topics with the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover in the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you more quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.